and a podcast host. But today I'm just going to quickly go through what we do at GAP. I'm sure most of you all know about GAP, now know about Luckan, and then have a short introduction of the GAP team before we start our panel. If we could have the first slide about GAP. But I will just start and then we will get the presentation there as well. Globart Point was founded in 2016 by a group of foreign-born and Finnish artists and cultural workers. The main aim of Globart Point is to promote and support the status and working conditions of artists and cultural professionals with a foreign background residing in Finland. GAP stands on three main pillars: GAP advocacy, GAP lab, and GAP info. As part of advocacy, we act as policy influencers at all levels of society. In GAP lab, we create a triangle that bridges foreign-born Finnish artists and institutions in a creative laboratory. We have a GAP lab performance later on today, so I think you will all get to see what it is about. And via GAP Info, we disseminate information, organize events, and curate the creatives database. And so many of you here today are part of the creatives database that we have. When the current board was formed last year, which is about a year ago, we decided to focus on employment and professional development of the creative sector in Finland. And that's why we have the GAP Art Summit event today, which is to create a dialogue between different kinds of people and collaborations between different kinds of people. If you're interested to learn more about what we do, we have a lot of information on our website, or if you want, you can visit our office. All our contact details are mentioned on our website. So this is a little about us. And now I would like to introduce the GAP team. Jana, who's our managing director. Alex, the project manager. Then we have Tatiana, who's one of our board members. And also, sorry, I should move a bit. And Christian, who's a board member as well. He's doing photography today for the event. Yeah, so this is some of the team at GAP, not everyone. We don't have the whole board here today, but most of us. So welcome. So if you need any further assistance during the event, you can reach out to any of us. We all have these badges. You can identify us. And yeah, that's it. And this is, of course, a discrimination-free zone. And we follow the safe space guidelines. We have a board there where we mention what the guidelines are. So you can have a look and read it later. And in the end, I would like to say a big, big thank you to Luckan. Without them, this event would not have been possible. It's a beautiful space, and we have so much of technical help from them. And to everyone who has been working together with us, we've been working on this event for the past 1 year, and we've had so many partners during the event, so thank you to everyone, and to our wonderful audience for being here this morning, and the online audience who are watching this from home. Thank you so much. So we're going to start the first panel, which is about strategies forming the future. And I would like to invite the panelists on stage now. Anastasia Trizna. She's a Helsinki-based actor, singer, and fight performer. Then we have Helja Fransila. She's here. Communications Director at Kone Foundation. Sorry, Johanna Tukkanen, Head of Cultural Services and Director of Cultural Center Valve, City of Oulu. Aleksi Malmari, he's here. General Manager at Helsinki Philharmonic Orchestra. And Maya Lumapuro, Senior Ministerial Advisor, Cultural Affairs, Ministry of Education and Culture. welcome to our first panel of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will start with Maya, who will go through the strategies of Ministry of Education and Culture. So should we have the slides for Maya? Can you see the screen?
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me to, to this first GAP Art Summit. And so my name is Maija Lumepuro. I work at the Ministry of Education and Culture at the Department for Art and Cultural Policies. I work therefore as a senior ministerial advisor for cultural affairs, promoting cultural cooperation internationally and working with policies promoting cultural diversity and enhancing integration in the field of art and culture. And now I will present you shortly the strategy for the Ministry of Education and Culture 2030, which was published in 2019. In our strategy, we strive championing education and culture with knowledge, skills, and feeling. We can all agree that education and culture take shape and impact society through skills, creativity, inclusiveness, global and social responsibility, well-being, embracing an international outlook, understanding plurality, and caring for others. Education and culture bring meaning to our lives, and meaningful life boosts our trust in society and leads to a wider shared sense of confidence. And on this second slide, we can see phenomena that our actions are influenced by, and they all are recognizable and also very relevant when we speak and explore diversity questions. So in our strategy, we see that our actions are influenced by increasing divergence and values, in values and attitudes, mounting inequality and polarization, which leads to disparities between population groups. Also scientific progress, technological advances, and economic development. Globalization and transformation of work, global responsibility, climate change, and demographic change. So then on the third slide, we tell what we promise in strategy in order to tackle these challenges and promote our objectives. All of them are important, but I would draw your special attention to creating special conditions for fostering inclusiveness in society, safeguarding democracy and freedom of expression, reinforcing gender equality, parity, and mutual respect, creating opportunities for a meaningful life for all. Then on fourth slide, you can see our actions that have an impact, especially from the point of view of needs that we have indicated in our ministerial working group's report, Art, Culture and Diverse Finland. I would put emphasis on following. Under better knowledge, skills and competence for all, I would underline equitable education and cultural rights, continuous learning for everyone, and the fact that creative sectors and creative competence will strengthen the economic structure of our country. We can keep this, this slide. So under creative, inquiry-based and responsible action that renews society, I would emphasize a mix of tools for creating, producing and leveraging arts and culture, and to protect our diverse cultural heritage. And then under equal opportunities for a meaningful life, we have active citizenship and an active way of life would become more prevalent. More people engaging in sports, arts and culture. And also greater shared responsibility, inclusion, transparency and sense of community. And according to our structure, our strategy, we want to act transparently and responsibly, building trust. And then we can take next slide, where we have also strategy for cultural policy up to 2025. This strategy was drawn earlier already. It was published already in 2017. We have there also target areas for cultural policy and related strategic objectives. We have 3 of them. We have creative work and production as a first one. Then we have inclusion and participation in arts and culture. And then we have cultural basis and continuity. And under inclusion and participation in culture, we have like 9 different target areas, but I will mention only a few here now. So I will highlight changes in different groups to maintain and develop their own language and culture. Safeguarding cultural and linguistic rights, ensuring full access to and equality in artistic and cultural activities and in services associated with them. Also, user-oriented and audience-oriented development of arts and culture in contents. That means, for example, such as quality, offerings, such as diversity, and services, such as access and different types of services. And also impacts of arts and culture on human health and well-being. And according to our cultural strategy, we have implemented one target objective, which was drawing a guideline on how to take into account diversity in cultural policy. We had a ministerial working group working during 2020, and we published final report in January 2021. And I think that this report is familiar to many of you, and for example, Global Point have distributed and gave information about this report very actively, so it is really important to have this information passed to the audience. So I think that I stop here, and then we can return to these themes in questions.
Thank you so much, Maya, and for sharing the strategy for cultural policy 2025. And yes, Global Point has been quite instrumental in the report in giving information as well as distributing it. We don't have the report here today, but we have lots of copies in the office. If anybody still wants.
And I have some copies also here.
Okay, yes. So you can take some from Maya, or we can have some kept outside. Okay, so next we will have Alexei speaking about the city's cultural strategy.
Yes, thank you, Ruby. And thank you, GAP, for organizing this event. I think it means a lot, and I look very much forward to learning more, have a real dialogue, and also to the next years and editions. This is very important. So my name is Alexei, and I send best greetings from the City Culture Director Reetta Heiskanen and the City of Helsinki Leisure and Culture Department Director Laura Aalto, who are now in Venice and could not come, so I am a mere substitute. But this is a topic that is very close to my heart, and I thought to take the opportunity to share some viewpoints on the City of Helsinki strategy and cultural vision. And because of my position not being working at the Helsinki Philharmonic Orchestra as the director, I take the liberty to actually have a sort of a reflection perhaps some personal viewpoints on what it actually means. Very easily when we talk about strategies, it becomes this sort of, poetry of beautiful words. But let's try and keep it to the earth and actually what it actually means. To begin with, Helsinki is still a very homogeneous city. Not in its people, if we look at around us now, but if we look at its power structures and structures, a prime example of that. But looking at the strategy papers and the different papers delivered by the city, I think the ethos of empowering the citizens and to see the city as a platform that actually actively supports action is very clear. That people in different parts of the city with different backgrounds would have more possibilities to work and to create a better city. And I do hope that during this summit and these 2 days we can actually learn as a city some new actual tools and pathways to that. I start from the vision for art and culture in the city of Helsinki for 2030, because that's the one I know the best. I was a part of the committee that was planning the vision that was announced 2 years ago. It was done just before COVID hit us in February 2020. And it's not an official paper by the city. It was a group of independent artists and cultural actors in the city that the city asked to sort of imagine a better world for 10 years after this moment. But it's been good to see that those ideas and some of those points in which also GAP was an active part in sort of delivering, and many other citizens have been brought to also to the strategy of the Helsinki and the service strategy of the City Leisure and Culture Department. This was indeed written before COVID hit us, but the vision starts in a constantly changing reality. Art helps Helsinki to know itself, imagine alternative worlds, and build paths to the future. The people of Helsinki and their diversifying cultures are at the heart of the city, and it's important that these cultures engage in a dialogue that increases common understanding, creates a common Helsinki. In the vision, we've identified artists and arts as something that the city could use more, that we could use the skills and the thinking of the artists to help building a good city. And there are 3 themes. The main first one is how art can help Helsinki to face and to change the future, how art actually increases understanding and promotes critical and constructive dialogue, which you are having here today. And we talk about things like curiosity and compassion, interpersonal skills, the ability to look at things in a different perspective, and the courage to seek direction. And it discusses the polyphony and cultural richness of art that could create a better city in Helsinki. And it also states quite boldly that the city needs to be diversified in its cultural scene, in its funding, to provide more support for the art. The second main topic is that art and culture are key forces in the development of Helsinki, how the city could use artists and art for the citizens. And I quote, "Art and culture are used to promote equality and a sense of community and to strengthen inclusion throughout the city's structures." Now this is a vision for 2030, which is not a reality perhaps yet. I think that we should have the art and culture scene itself in Helsinki be more equal and understand the meaning of inclusion better than we do today for this to become a reality. And the third theme is that it's the people of Helsinki that create the city's culture. Helsinki is formed by the lives and stories of people of different ages, speaking different languages, from different cultural, ethnic, socioeconomic and educational backgrounds, and living in different parts of the city. Their cultural networks extend all over the world. In 2030, everyone in Helsinki is able to find their cultural community and connections. The many cultures in Helsinki provide the soil in which people can put down roots and feel at home in the city. And Helsinki brings together different people and their cultures. And I think the idea of bringing people together and that being one of the main tasks of a city is elemental. And also elemental is the idea that we should be able to feel kinship without the requirement of sameness. The vision also states some action points, suggestions of what should be done to achieve these kind of goals. For example, that the city of Helsinki will ensure that there are open spaces for meeting and for activities and for work throughout the city. We have 37 libraries all around the city, and that could be identified as a resource. It's not just a place for books, but a place for encounters, for work. We have this Varaamo service now being developed within the city so that you can actually, through that web service, free of charge or with a minimal cost, rent spaces which are free in the city of Helsinki currently. And we are now currently working quite intensively with the urban environment department of the city to identify those spaces which are not in use or not in full use, and how to make them more accessible for artists and cultural actors for work and for presentation. And that's one of the really it's a real concrete matter that is shared not only by us but also all the growing cities in the world. Also, for example, the vision suggests that the language requirements in the city recruitment should be examined from the perspective of promoting diversity in the cultural field. This is not yet done, so it needs to be addressed in the future. I've talked 10 minutes about the vision, and then I have still the city strategy and the service strategy to go. I'll be very quick just to talk about the Helsinki city strategy for the next 4 years that was now launched in last summer. I think it has the very same ethos as the vision for arts and culture. And it's sort of telling that it starts by this sentence: cities are not just built environments, they are also living and breathing communities. I think it's self-evident, but that we need to sort of tell that to ourselves as a city, tell us about the sort of technocratic approach that we still live in many ways in the city, and to understand ourselves that, you know, it's the people that create the city. There are 13 main themes in the city strategy, which is quite a lot, but I will bring up 3, which for us I think are most important. First, a theme of art and culture as enablers of good life in Helsinki. And the strategy states that our goal is a Helsinki with an expanding cultural life that makes the city more interesting and more diverse. Second is an international city of equality. And I quote, "Helsinki is committed to promoting non-discrimination, equality, and human rights in its operations. The goal is to be a city where different lifestyles and opinions can coexist in harmony and in dialogue." And then third, which for GAP is crucial, is international workers and businesses find Helsinki appealing. And we've got a lot of work here. The Helsinki has identified that we need workers from all over the world to come to Helsinki and succeed here. And again, I quote, "We will assume a more active role in attracting international businesses, business owners, and work-seeking migrants to Helsinki, and helping them settle in. We will ensure the availability of a skilled and capable workforce by renewing our recruitment processes, increasing language instruction, and expanding apprenticeship training." There are some new tools that the city has given for this purpose, like the Helsinki Partners that was founded in the beginning of this year by sort of merging a number of earlier organizations together for businesses, workers to start a successful life in Helsinki. Also Newco Helsinki, namely there to support new companies and by taking people by hand and helping them found a new company. And for example, Testbed Helsinki, which is a platform, a website where you can actually, if you want to test your business idea, find possible partners within the city organization or from the city as a whole. The Testbed Helsinki is sort of the place to start with. And I do hope that these kind of meaningful tools that we could talk more about can help in the idea that the city really has to support new workers in Helsinki. To end, I will quote from the vision of arts and culture by Sonja Lindfors, who was part of the committee and wrote that art is never neutral. Instead, it carries with it ideologies and values. Change is slow and uncomfortable, but it is inevitable. We can all do our part to promote change, but those with the power to influence have a special responsibility. And here I am preaching to myself and my colleagues in the city of Helsinki. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Alexei. Thank you for sharing the Cultural Vision 2030. And also, I think what you said, that we need an equal arts and culture scene in 2030, yes, but we need it now, not only in 2030.
Yes.
So thank you for that. Next we have Johanna, and she will share the cultural strategy for city of Oulu.
Yes,
Please,
thank you. Can you hear me all right? Yeah, brilliant. Lovely to be here. Thanks for Global Point for organizing this fantastic event and including me and inviting me to be part of it. I've arrived this morning from Oulu, which is a city in the north of Finland, about 600 kilometers from Helsinki, a kind of a we call it the capital of Northern Europe. Actually, I will share some themes, or the central themes of the Cultural Strategy 2030 of Oulu. But I would like to also point out that we have a newly updated Oulu strategy, like for the whole city of Oulu, which was just published in February, I think. And culture plays a very strong role in that strategic paper as well. And in fact, it is titled Cultural Climate Change Now. So I think it's a very optimistic and positive in terms of the development and fostering arts and culture in the north and in Oulu. But the cultural strategy of Oulu is built on this concept of cultural climate change, and it is also the concept that ties our city's cultural strategy to the Oulu 2026, when Oulu will be the European capital of culture. So this is also the connecting concept between these two initiatives. And the three themes that the cultural strategy Oulu is based on are placemaking, community building, and fostering the creative sector. So I will briefly explain those thematic sections, and perhaps in the questions we can go more into the kind of activities related to those and the actual goals. You can, by the way, find the whole strategy online, also in English. So if you're interested, the exact, for example, activities you'll find there. But Oulu recognizes culture as a producer of places. So this means that we recognize that culture and art impact the urban environment, and through arts and artistic activities, culture creates meanings connected to places as well. So in this sense, culture is very strongly connected to urban planning, and Oulu recognizes culture as a kind of central element in the city development and in the growth and development of Oulu and the region. And culture is also what builds the identity of Oulu and the kind of story of the north, if you like. The aim is that Oulu will be a major sustainable cultural tourism destination in the future, where it's possible to experience a combination of urban city centre, creative villages and hubs, and the wild nature. The second slide, or the third slide rather. So the second theme is culture as a builder of sense of community, and this of course is very, very much related to diverse communities, inclusiveness, equal access to the arts, etc., which of course are by law what we as a city cultural services need to provide. We also recognize culture as a builder of bridges between diverse communities, sometimes polarized groups, etc. And we are really determined to strengthen everyone's right and opportunities to both participate in making and experiencing culture. So we really want that culture comes close to people. It is part of your local everyday life and activity. So not only in terms of strong cultural institutions in city centers, but really in neighborhoods and different regions that now are part of Oulu. And of course, art and culture promote well-being and civilization more generally throughout the region. And we actually have a very ambitious kind of art and well-being plan that was accepted last year by the city, and it is now being implemented. So we are doing, I think, a fantastic job there. And the third area of our cultural strategy is, of course, the creative sector and our strong emphasis and commitment to supporting arts and creative organizations and NGOs. So we see culture as a builder of creativity. And of course, that's in terms of the whole idea of the cultural climate change. It is the professionals working in the arts and culture who are at the core of that possibility and that development. So both artists and creative industries and also arts generally as a kind of business opportunity as well is recognized in the strategy. And of course, we are also really working very much to foster kind of mutual connections and kind of networks and project opportunities, both locally and internationally for the creatives. So these are the three thematic areas, and we can, I guess, discuss the activities more later on. A few words about the Oulu 2026. And of course, the main aim of the European Capital of Culture is to create and bring culture, well-being and vitality to the northern region. Of course, Oulu is the core city for the development of the activities of 26 and the delivery, but 32 municipalities around the region are committed and participating in the program. And generally, the cultural climate change is about kind of reconnecting with the world around us and creating a new sense of togetherness. So again, a sense of community